Okay, Lady Focus. Wanted to respond to you on your Dear Brothers, a Young Woman's Tears vlog. I'm going to respond to you as if I was responding to my sister. You said this stuff was coming from your heart, so I see that it might be a sensitive subject. So let me jump right into this. You said you were started dating at 16, 17 years old, and then at that time that you had lost your virginity at age 18. And the one thing that, I would tell my sister, or that I was telling myself and everything like that, and knowing now that losing your virginity at such a young age opens up a door for emotions that you are really not equipped to handle. And especially if it's with somebody to whom you necessarily don't like. And the one thing that you did say is that your parents didn't like him and you really didn't like him. And that's major, because that means that you gave that guy something sacred to whom, which probably he abused it, not as in the sexual sense of saying he abused it, but abused the actual gift that you gave him by not nurturing it the way it should have been, and blossoming into a relationship that might have been successful. 9 times out of 10 it was just, okay, well, I gave him sex and that's that, kind of like on The Color Purple. Mr. Just get on top of me and do his business. And that's because as a young woman, you probably didn't understand what it is about sex that you were supposed to be looking for and that you were supposed to be doing to give it to a person. But your parents didn't like him, you didn't like him, but you gave it up to him anyway, and that happens. But you did that at age 18. Then a couple years later or so, you said you get into a relationship with a woman, and you were with her for 1 year, and you were engaged. So you're only 23, so it looks like, age 16 you start dating, age 18 you lose your virginity, you have a boyfriend, then sometime later you're engaged for a year. You are giving yourself a lot of emotional wear and tear because you're not taking the time to get to know yourself. You are adding people into your life at times when you should really be taking the time to get to know you and have fun and understand what it is that you like to do and play some of those childish games and get it out your system. Right now you're putting yourself in, I guess, I don't want to say adult because I don't want to knock your age, but you're putting yourself in more mature emotional situations than what you really should be at age 23. You should be allowed to have fun and not have to worry about the stupidity that's going on and everything like that, because now that these situations that you've gone through at a young age, these are derogatory seeds that haven't been uprooted, that are now starting to fester into your spirit, because now you're looking at it as you hate men and that men are not good and that they're bad, and that's not necessarily the case, because not all men are the same way. But you also have to experience difference in men, but let's go into the fact of why you may not. Okay, at this current time, you also said that you learned out that your father wasn't your father and that your real father was in jail. And that your mother wasn't very nurturing and she was telling you that, you were ugly and things like that. Well, here's the problem. That's an identity crisis that, once again, you're going to get misplaced anger because the person who's there to counter that is your father. Your mother says you're ugly. If your father was there to say, no, you look like me and you're beautiful and you have these beautiful features because I'm beautiful, and giving you the confidence that you need, then you might not have the anger that you have. But because he wasn't there to protect you from those derogatory seeds that were planted in you, now anger begins to develop. And now, once again, there's two sides to every story, so then there must be a reason why your mother would tell you these things, but maybe she at that time was also upset at men and feeding that negative energy into you about men, which helps you feel like you would like to be with a woman. Anyway it goes, these are all negative seeds that have to be uprooted, and the only way they can is by you taking the time to be with yourself and your God, and getting to know yourself even better. But let's go into the fact that you said, is it because the guy you're with is younger that you feel this way? And absolutely not, because there are women of all ages dealing with fools. There's a saying that says, an old fool was once a young fool. And this is strictly dealing with the human being. This is not a gender thing. And the reason why I'm going to tell you that it's not a gender thing is, let's look at what you said earlier in the video. You said that you were engaged to a woman for a year. If dating women were the end of all ends, then you would be married right now to this woman, or you guys would be in a long relationship. But once again, at that time, that relationship didn't work, and from the tone of it, it didn't sound like it ended well because you said, and whatever to that relationship. Well, if it was whatever to that relationship and it was with a woman, then let's look at it as not necessarily men and women. Let's look at it as a human being thing. Maybe you're just experiencing some human beings who just aren't necessarily on the level that you are in maturity or in relationship, and that's okay. But you have to give yourself some time to develop into that. Let's see. So you said you made a bad choice because you're with this guy, and it's not a bad choice. You got to have life lessons. You got to live and learn. That saying comes from somewhere, right? Live and learn. So you got to live and learn and take your bumps and your bruises in different relationships and know not to do it again. And it's okay. You have to do something that you haven't really seemed like you got a chance to do, and that's date. But date yourself. Treat yourself. Love yourself. Do more for you so that by the time you do meet the person that you need to be with, that you are the best person that you can be. Not saying you're going to be complete, because we're all going to continue to grow no matter of age or whatever. I'm 27. I don't think the same way I did at age 26. But you got to learn how to love you. Terrell Owens, the football player for the Dallas Cowboys, makes an example of, I love me some me. And you got to love you some you. You got to be able to love you so you know what you will not tolerate and what you won't deal with. It will help eliminate the double standards that you're talking about in your next segment that I'm going to speak on right now, which you said a man wants to know everything about a woman, yet she don't know he has a close friend somewhere that he chills out with. And you feel that that's a double standard because he wants to know everything about you, but you don't know everything about him. But what you do is you take the time to understand what you will and what you won't deal with. And if that's something that you won't deal with a man not being open with you, then you don't deal with him. You don't have to accept that. And I know a lot of guys will be like, oh man, you're hating, but it's the truth. I would tell my sister the same thing. If you ask that man a question and he don't want to give you an answer to it, you don't have to deal with that. You choose to deal with that. So it's not necessarily the man, it's you. That's a double standard that you can control. Tell him what you will not stand for, and if he doesn't respect that, then you move on to the next person. It's okay to be by yourself. It's not something where a relationship should define you. A relationship is something that should complement you, and you should find someone who complements your style. And if this guy or girl, whatever, doesn't complement your style or your person, then get rid of them. A lot of us stay in relationships that are not successful and aren't happy and aren't productive because we have a fear of being alone. But that fear of being alone is what puts you into these bad situations. If you love being by yourself, then you'll be able to screen better the guys that come into your life or the women that come into your life, whatever your niche is. But I have a part 2 that goes to this. I want to make sure I can upload this, and I want to make sure that this can get on there today. So let me cut this one short, but I got part 2 coming up, all right? So please check out part 2. Peace.